Module 2, Library Structures, covers the following topics: library design, component types, and component groups. The first topic in Module 2 is the library design. When we open the Component Designer, we see our default installation for the Component Designer and all of its existing libraries. We have the ANSI Piping 2 library, the ASME piping, the equipment, shared components, structural steel, and tabbed menus, which is considered to be a library. When we're creating our component, we take a look at which of the libraries we'd like to add that component to. In our case, with the flange cover, we would probably add it to our ANSI Piping 2 library. When we open up the ANSI Piping 2, we see the component properties, property tables, the component types, the component metadata, and the size assembly. These are all the subgroupings which we will then add our component. The next topic in Module 2 is the component types. So within our ANSI Piping 2 library, there is a Component Types tab, which we can open by selecting the plus sign. This shows a listing of all the available component types that are standard within the ANSI Piping 2 library. We would then take a look at where we would like to place our new component. Being it's a flange cover, it's similar to the flanges. We do have flange inserts and flanges. We'll add it under the flange category. Open up our flanges. We see that we have blind flanges, lap joint, long weld neck, slip-on, socket weld, threaded, and weld neck flanges. These are component types that are listed under the flanges. We could continue to go down these and take a look at, say, the weld necks. Underneath weld neck, we also have several types. Again, component types. We have flat face, raised face, and ring type joint. We can continue the tree structure all the way down until we get to our component groupings, which would be, for instance, to our, say, Schedule 40, and then we eventually have our weight classification categories. In our case, we can just create a component type under the flanges. Simply right-click and say New Component Type. The dialog appears and it asks for the component type. We'll put in the name. We'll call it flange cover. It asks for a short description, so we could abbreviate this to flange cover. It also asks for the component sizes, and this would be how the component is placed within the 3D Smart Modeler. So we'll set this one to the ANSI pipe sizes, as we'll pick up the 4-inch, 6-inch size ratings within the modeler as we place the components. Click Next. It then asks what type of component attributes we're going to have, if they're just regular or linear. Things like piping components, straight pipe, can have linear. Everything else can be considered regular. So we'll just leave it at the default and click Finish. We have now created a new component type called flange cover, and it's located under the flanges. The last topic in Module 2 is component groups. So once we've created our component type and selected the location of that type, our flange cover in this case, we can then go in and create the groupings underneath. And let's just take a look at lap joints as a sample. When we open up our lap joints, we see the red cubes denoting component groups. So we have all the different classifications for the lap joint. Let's do the similar thing with our flange covers. Right-click on the flange cover, and we'll add a new component group. It's now asking for the group attributes, the group information. So in this case, we'll put in the 150 pound and 150 pound. Symbols can be used. Click Finish. And we now have a new grouping underneath our flange cover component type of 150 pound. We would continue to create any number of groups underneath our component type as required. For this tutorial, we'll just do the 150 pound class rating. This concludes the topics covered in Module 2. Please review Module 2 or select the next module.